Green all the way in 6A.
All right, now we are on the last step of this gigantic project. I wanted to add a little texture to the caulk. So what I did was I got some sand at the beach, and I tried doing this with the wood glue, and I also tried it with the Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue dries clear, whereas the wood glue has a yellow tint to it. But looking at the two different things that we tried, I don't think I see much of a difference. This is the wood glue. It seems to be drying the same color as the regular good old Elmer's glue. The gray is probably so dark that it wouldn't matter, but just keep that in mind. They do dry a different color. And this is the technique that I kind of came up with to do this. Once the caulk has dried, make sure that the caulk is completely dry. We're going to add a line of our glue. And you can see I need to buy a new bottle because this is not, I'm running out. I'll put a nice line of glue in here. And then I'm taking my pinky and I'm spreading that glue out. Then I dip right into the sand. Kind of have to work quickly here. And add the sand right onto the glue that you have just put onto here. And it is a little messy. You're going to have to sweep the sand away. But this seems to be working nice, and I just wanted to have that little extra layer of texture that kind of gives this a little bit more realism. And honestly, I'm quite pleased with how this looks. You just add a little bit more to the story. And I think that's great. Now, another thing I wanted to mention having to do with texture. Some of these bricks are a little too flat for my taste. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with a sponge, a regular kitchen sponge, and I'm probably going to dip it in a little bit of a darkish color, very lightly, and tap onto it just to give it a little bit more of oomph and bring it out. Because you can see here that I added some other colors into the bricks with varying results. I'm not sure how much I love this, but this is what's fun about this project. You can experiment, you can find what you like. The only thing is you're going to have to do it on the whole wall once you kind of get into your groove and get into your routine. But this is what I'm going to do now on the whole wall. You know, all the pieces are covered, you glue them on, you paint them, add the caulk, and then add the sand texture. It's a very, very big project, and it's not a weekend project. So have fun, and hopefully I'll hear what you guys all think, and I'll see you. All right, so here is my brick wall. I am really, really happy with the way this turned out. It turned out way better than I could have ever imagined. And I just want to show you some of the techniques that I discovered while I was doing the brick wall. So if you'll recall, I showed you how I was doing the gray caulk with the sand. And I did a whole bunch of different techniques, turns out, for this. Sometimes I would put the caulk down and then put the glue and throw the sand on there and do it that way. But then I thought, hey, let me try putting the sand on there while the caulk is wet. So I did that as well. And they kind of worked equally the same. You can see that there are some differences, like sometimes it went smooth, sometimes it was a mess. Like down here, I made a terrible mess with everything. But like I said, I don't really care that this looks perfect. I don't want it to look perfect. I never did. Another technique I wanted to show you, just to give it texture, you can see here that there are little glops of paint that I actually added to the bricks. I hope you can see that on film. As I was painting, the paint at the bottom of the container I was using would dry. But what I did was I peeled that dry paint off and I kind of brushed it into the work just to give these bricks extra texture. So they look a little clumpy. So that's one way to make texture. The other thing that I did to make texture, and this was completely accidental, I took some masking tape and I just kind of put it onto the brick briefly and pulled it off quickly, and some of the paint actually came off. And I liked that. So I did that on a few spots of the bricks just to kind of give it texture, just so that the eye has something else to look at. And then the other thing, I also added shells in with the sand. So I put a little bit of extra texture in that way, or little pebbles here and there. And then the very last thing, this kind of hit me. I was like, hey, you know what? Every time somebody comes over, they need to sign a brick. So you can see that I've started a very nice collection of my friends signing the brick. And you know, you can use whatever color you want. I'm choosing the black to keep it pretty consistent. But, and if you come over here, I can show you how the corner turned out. This turned out very nicely. And, you know, I of course, I had mistakes. I had caulk dripping all over and it was just a big mess. Sand and everything. But I kind of left it because I like it. It just looks raw and it looks more real that way, I think. So, again, just so you know, this is not a weekend project. This took me a very long time. It was very messy. There was sand all over the place. But, you know, I see it as a piece of art on my wall. And I hope that you enjoy doing something like this. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. And I'll see you for the next episode of Green All the Way in 6A.
Green all the way in 6A.